Welcome. This is John Teisberg at burningtruck.com. You're watching podcast BT144 AddingFramesToPencil. In the early days of animation, animations were made one cell at a time, or one frame at a time. Each cell was hand-inked and hand-painted. Pencil works in the same way. When you're setting up Pencil, you want to make sure that you've got enough frames to make your whole movie. The more frames you've got, the longer your movie is. For this tutorial, we're going to go with 24 frames a second. This is an industry standard for animation. If you make an animation with, say, 12 frames a second, it's going to look pretty choppy. If you make a movie with 60 frames a second, our human brains can't use all that information. What they found out early on in the industry is that 24 frames a second makes a smooth and believable animation. I've built a sound file, a WAV file, .wav, that's 25 seconds long. Let me talk about sound files for a minute. Right now, WAV files are the ones that Pencil is most friendly with. It's common practice to make your animation after you've made your sound file. That might seem a little upside down, but it works really well that way. I would much rather throw away a chunk of sound before I started animating instead of throwing away a piece of animation that I worked a long time on. A really popular sound editing software is called Audacity. That's open source, and it works across platforms. Okay, back to our frames. How long do I want to make my movie? I've decided on 24 frames a second, and I've got sound that is 25 seconds long. I'm going to multiply 24 frames per second times 25 seconds equals 600 frames. That sounds like a lot. 600 individual pictures? Ooh, drawing 600 pictures is going to go a lot quicker than you think it will. Okay, so I want to dial up 600 frames for my little 25-second movie. How do I do that? First, I'll go down here and check out the FPS box, frames per second, and I'll dial that up to 24 frames a second. Now I'll go to the bottom of the frame, I'll drag the slider all the way across, and this movie's not long enough. I've got to add more frames. Now we get into the geeky stuff. Go to the top row of buttons and click Edit. Go down to Preferences, go down to Timeline, and where it says Timeline Size in frames, that's what you want to make 600. Type in 600. Let's go back down to our slider at the very bottom. Slide it all the way over. Well, look at that. They gave us some bonus frames. That's okay. I'd rather have too many frames than too few. The extra frames won't be rendered. They won't be made into a movie. It's okay if they just sit there. Congratulations. You've just dialed in the right number of frames for your movie. Actually, you've got some bonus ones. You won't be surprised when you get to the middle of your movie and there aren't enough frames to work with. Pencil is a really cool program. However, sometimes it's not very stable. So whenever I make a major change, I like to save my file. Go up here to Save, and I'll type in a name. I'm going to put -rev A, revision A. Save. If I make some other changes, I'll use the same title and I'll call it -rev B, revision B. Go and make some more changes. I'll go save as -rev C. That way, if I blow up a file or really wreck something, I can go back to the one that I was working on just before and I haven't lost everything. Congratulations. Now you know how to add frames to Pencil, plus a few other tidbits thrown in for good measure.